Hey designers, tell me if you've ever had this thought or said the following. I don't want to scare potential customers away by talking about my price before I even have the chance to talk about value. I sell so much better on a consultation call, and people are way more likely to book me if they can get to know me first. Or, my prices vary a lot depending on the scope of the project, so I really don't want to go listing any hard and fast numbers on my site. Sound familiar? I totally hear you, but in this video, I want to share with you why listing your prices for everyone to see could actually be super beneficial for your web design business. But before we dive in, if you're currently spinning your wheels, struggling to land the clients that you need to make your web design business work, then you're going to want to hit pause and take my 45-second quiz to find out which client finding method matches your personality type. Get immediate access to the in-depth personalized results and discover the strategy that will have you attracting clients with ease. I'll pop the link to that in the description below, so be sure to go check it out. Okay, so let's look at the 5 reasons why you should be listing your prices on your site as a designer. Starting with reason number 1, which is your client is subconsciously thinking, if I have to ask, I probably can't afford it. Have you ever been shopping and you stumble on a super high-end looking boutique where the minute you step foot in the store, everything just screams, I'm expensive? Still, you are absolutely obsessed with the dress that the mannequin had on in the window, so it wouldn't just hurt to check, right? But after awkwardly crawling over all the things in the display window, you realize the dress is missing its price tag. You're already feeling a little silly and out of place in this fancy store, so there's no way you're going to draw further attention to yourself by flagging down one of the designer-wearing employees to ask how much it costs. So instead, you head a few blocks down to peruse a store you know you can safely afford. I hate to tell you this, but your potential clients are doing the same thing on your website. Your web design portfolio is drop-dead gorgeous, super curated, and clearly ahead above the rest. And as obsessed as your potential client is with your work, if they can't easily access your prices without having to ask, then they might just assume they can't afford you. Hiring out their website to a pro probably feels like a pretty massive investment for them, so they may fear the sting of rejection if the budget they worked so hard to save up turns out to not be enough. But if you had only listed your prices, they may have realized that your basic package was actually just the perfect fit. So what about when your prices are outside of their budget? Good. That's information you're kind of going to want to know before you hop on a consultation call. Which brings me to reason number 2 to go ahead and list your prices on your website, which is no more wasting time on calls with clients who aren't the right fit. No matter how much someone adores your work and really wants to work with you, if their budget for their entire site is $500 and your basic package starts at $5,000, no amount of time spent on a consultation call is going to change that. Yes, sometimes people just truly don't know what a website costs and therefore didn't know how to properly budget, which we talk about here in a minute. But for the most part, the money is what it is, and some people simply won't be able to afford your services. It would be a massive waste of their time and yours to hop on a call, spend 30 minutes excitedly talking about their project, only to dash their hopes and dreams at the end of the call when you casually mention, oh yeah, and here's what it costs. It's embarrassing for them and all sorts of awkward for you, and it can be all avoided by just listing your prices right there on your services page. Will you be doing fewer consultation calls? Yep. But the calls you are doing will be with the right people, and since you already got the initial investment talk out of the way, it won't be looming over you the entire call, and you'll be able to actually relax and use the time to connect in a more authentic way with your potential client instead. Okay, on to reason number 3, which is listing your prices sets a realistic expectation for what a pro designer costs, and therefore how to budget for one. So as I mentioned earlier, some people simply don't know how much a website costs. They've never worked with a designer before, and they have no idea what goes into building the thing. They look at their baby business and think, not really bringing in much income yet, so it doesn't make sense to throw too much at a website just yet. And then they arbitrarily pick some number that sounds like a lot to them, but it's also low enough that they won't have to resort to eating ramen noodles every night for a month. But what they don't realize is that a bad or non-existent website could actually be part of their income problem, and that if they invested in building a better online home for their business, they might start to see some real growth. By listing out your packages and pricing in detail, you're not only setting an expectation for what it realistically costs to get a website up and running, but you also have a chance to educate them on just how much value a killer website could bring to their business. They obviously already know that they need a website. That's why they're looking for someone to hire. But what they may not know is that every website isn't created equal, and just because you build one doesn't mean the people will come. There is some legit strategy and site building best practices involved, so while you're talking dollars and cents, it's also the perfect time to chat about value as well. It may also help them realize that they may not be ready for the giant 10-page website copy branding redesign they had been picturing, and that their current budget may be better suited to one of your more basic packages to start. Once again, you've saved face on what could have been a very disappointing consult for them, and you're freed up to focus on the positives during the call and benefit that you can bring. You'll also be able to encourage them that as their business grows, you can start to revisit some of those other services that they had their eye on, and that you will always be there to help them round out their website even more in the future. All right, any guesses what reason number 4 is? It's by listing your prices, you are making it easier for potential clients to say yes to working with you. In the beginning of this video, I shared the analogy of the shopper who is scared to ask how much it costs. But that is not the only way you are missing out on sales by not listing your prices. Some people just may not bother to ask in the first place. Time is money, and if they're busy building their business and they have a bajillion other things they need to be doing that day, they're not interested in having to dig for information. They probably have 15 tabs open from their hurried Google search of website designer for event planners, and each tab gets a quick comb over to decide whether or not you can offer what they need. If it comes down to you and 3 other designers who have similar offerings and abilities, and the other 3 list their prices and maybe you don't, then they might not bother to take the time to email you to find out. If they do take the time to email you and you don't get back to them with your pricing and services guide that very second while their mind is still on their website, then it could be too late already. They could have already decided to book a consult with another designer who has made it easy to make the first steps towards working together. So, when you're setting up your website, you want to make sure that a potential client has easy access to everything that they need in order to say yes to start working with you before they ever jump on a call with you. You might be thinking, but Paige, I do my best selling on those calls when I can talk to them in person. Well, my advice for you is take everything you would have ever said on that consult call and just stick it straight on your services page. When correctly set up, your website and portfolio should do the selling for you to where you can literally book clients in your sleep. Okay, and on to our 5th and final reason to get those prices listed. And that is, if you aren't proudly listing your prices, clients might think you have something to hide. The cost of a pro website design is a pretty massive investment for most business owners, and they may be feeling a bit nervous about dropping a serious chunk of change on this project. Besides, getting them to fall in love with your portfolio, you also need them to feel like they can trust you with their baby, aka their business. So if you're currently being all hush-hush about your packages and your prices, your client may begin to wonder what it is you are so worried that they'll see. They could subconsciously be thinking, do they not believe in the value of their work? Do they know deep down they're overcharging for their packages? Are they going to hit me with some random hidden fee or unexpected charges after I agree to work with them? I can tell you right now, your client's biggest fear is getting duped by some so-called designer, followed closely by getting cornered on some scary, salesy feeling Zoom call. And I'm sorry to say that your super secretive inquiry process may be reinforcing those fears. Put their mind at ease by letting them know what to expect, and I promise you, both your consultation calls will start to be so much more enjoyable for both you and your potential clients. Okay. So now you may be thinking, I get a Paige, I see your point, but how can I list my prices if they differ based on the scope of the project? And if the cost of a project depends on a bunch of different factors, and you're worried that by listing your prices, your future client will hold you to some super unrealistic flat rate, then I would encourage you to use language like prices starting at or average investment is on your services page instead. You don't need to go listing out the price of every single last a la carte option you offer either, but just make it clear what your base package includes and that additional services would be at an extra charge. So, I hope this helps you confidently and proudly start listing your prices as a website designer. I'd love to know if you're currently listing your prices on your website or not, and what your biggest fear has been in putting them out there for the world to see. Please do share that with me in the comments below. And don't forget to head to that link in the description below to take the 45-second web designer quiz to see which client finding method matches your personality type. If you found this video helpful, be sure to let me know by hitting the like button. And remember, for the best tips on building a web design business that you love, don't forget to subscribe and tap the little bell button to be notified of when new content drops every single week. Wondering what to watch next? Check out these videos too.